Devaraja Mudaliar. Once, a stranger stood in front of Bhagwan in the old hall. Bhagwan instantly recognized him and introduced him to everyone. He had come 20 years ago when we were staying up on the hill. When Muruganar told me about this, I immediately asked him, "Does this mean that Bhagwan had a phenomenal memory?" Muruganar countered this with another question. Does a mirror make an effort to reflect an image? In the presence of a jnani, a realized person, everything is automatically revealed. There is no time delay or any other process in an interaction a jnani has with a person. He added, Bhagavan, being a jnani, could effortlessly cognize whoever stood before him. Then he hurriedly told me, "Do not mistake this for thought reading or clairvoyance. These belong to the realm of the mind. A realized sage is beyond the mind. He is in the spiritual state. That perfect spiritual state may include the apparitions of the body and the mind, not vice versa. Bhagavan himself has once said, a jnani is like a mirror. Whatever is placed before it will be reflected exactly as it is." Every devotee engaged with Bhagavan played a different role by the dictates of their nature, and Bhagavan responded similarly. For instance, Muruganar saw Bhagavan as Lord Shiva, and Bhagavan treated him like Saint Manikavachakar, a surrendered poet-devotee of Lord Shiva who lived several centuries ago. Major Chadwick looked upon Bhagavan as the mother. Professor G.V. Subbaramaya could treat Bhagavan as the father, and my own grandfather, Chinnaswamy, saw Guru and God in Bhagavan. At the same time, there was no difference in Bhagavan's loving embrace for each devotee. There was yet another devotee with a unique personality. His approach to Bhagavan was like that of a child or a baby crawling towards his parents. Pure innocence. He was A. Devaraja Mudaliar. The A standing for Arcot, the place where he hailed from. In the core of his heart, and also when he addressed Bhagavan or wrote letters to him, he always called Bhagavan Ammayappa, a Tamil word for mother-father. Mudaliar styled himself as Ramana Se, the child of Ramana. Bhagavan too treated him like a baby. Some of the senior devotees did not approve of Devaraja Mudaliar because of his childish, though innocent approach. Yet, Mudaliar was an embodiment of surrender. Bhagavan has said, there are two ways to realize the truth. Ask, who am I, and trace the I, the ego, to its source, the self, and allow it to dissolve. The second way is to surrender the me, that is the ego, to the supreme, which is the state of I am within you. Mudaliar's life also exemplifies another teaching of Bhagavan, which says, the devotee's effort and the Guru's grace are synonymous and simultaneous. There is no time lag there. When one makes an effort, simultaneously, grace is activated. The seeker's effort and God's grace are synonymous. In fact, Bhagavan has emphasized that effort itself is only because of grace. Devaraja Mudaliar was associated with Bhagavan for almost 50 years. It is an association that is perhaps longer than that the other devotees enjoyed. In 1900, 4 years after Bhagavan came to Arunachala, hundreds of people came to Tiruvannamalai for the Kartikeya Deepam festival. Devaraja Mudaliar was among those present. Though Bhagavan at that time was completely absorbed in the self and sat with eyes closed, his grace was upon Mudaliar. Out of the hundreds of people there, it was Mudaliar who was captivated by this young Swami. By 1914, when he visited Arunachala again, he had already become a reputed lawyer in Chittoor. Bhagavan was now living in Virupaksha cave. Traveling in those days was tedious. Driven by his devotion, Mudaliar came to Tiruvannamalai again in 1917. Bhagavan was then in Skandashrama. He experienced Bhagavan's graciousness and felt that he should surrender and offer his prayers to him. He returned fully convinced that here was a master to whom he should pray. He prayed internally and never orally. Between 1918 and 1922, he could not visit Bhagwan due to professional pressures. In 1922, he travelled again to Tiruvannamalai. Bhagwan was now in Ramanasrama, which at that time consisted of a few humble huts. He prostrated before Bhagwan while another ardent devotee, Ramaswamy Pillai, was singing Tiruppugal, a Tamil song in a stentorian voice that drowned out the steady sound of the torrential rain. At lunchtime, there were 4 or 5 people present. Bhagwan turned to Mudaliar and said, "We follow a particular pattern of eating here. If you are used to something different, you are free to eat it." Mudaliar had brought chapatis made with wheat. Bhagwan's attention melted him. He joined in and enjoyed a meal with the others, forgetting the chapatis. He started coming to Bhagwan more regularly and posing more and more questions. One of the important things that he shared with me was that he had been an atheist. He never believed in God, disliked going to temples, and had a deep disdain for rituals. In contrast, all the other devotees were devoutly religious, visited temples, and talked about God. In 1922, he put his views before Bhagwan. The master said, "It is all right. There is nothing wrong with that. God is always within you. Turn your mind inward and meditate on awareness. That is sufficient." I had the privilege of keeping company with this stately but very simple man. He once told me, "The uniqueness of our Bhagwan is that he accepts everyone as they are. Other gurus expect one to reform, or they reform you and only then do they accept you." He told me about an incident when he sang a song by a poet devotee of Lord Muruga one day. The song narrates how Lord Muruga finally reformed the singer and saved him. Mudaliar replaced Lord Muruga's name with Bhagwan's and began chanting it. Muruganar, who was present, immediately chided him. "You think highly of this poem, but I do not agree with you. It does not represent the real acceptance of our Bhagwan or his munasifity. Bhagwan never waits. He instantly accepts whoever comes into his presence. There is no need, no gap, or any form of expectation.